You know what's really quite remarkable? What separates us from the chaos of nature, from the struggle that defined early human existence? It's the ability to innovate. Our capacity to solve problems in a way that reshapes the environment so it better serves our needs. And we've been doing this for a long, long time. Despite the hardships that ancient civilization faced, they laid down the foundations for the world that we now inhabit. Throughout the immense effort, trial, and error, they began to solve essential problems that had plagued humanity for millennia. They didn't just build tools or cities, they developed ways of thinking that has shaped the human progress for thousands of years. We often fail to appreciate today just how much we owe to ancient innovations. You could say that these 10 inventions represent the first real steps towards order, civilization, and the very theme that continues to shape the world today. We'll be exploring the depths of the impact and why they still matter to this day. Now, first up on our list is the wheel. It's a very deceptively simple innovation. It's just a round piece of wood or stone, right? But it's something more deeply symbolic than that. It was developed around 3500 BC in ancient Mesopotamia. The wheel changed the very nature of the human existence. Before its invention, transportation was a brutal affair, limited to the strength of human or animals. But the wheel allowed us to overcome physical boundaries, to move heavy loads, and travel distances with ease that we never thought previously imaginable. And consider this, virtually every vehicle, machine, owes its existence to the ancient breakthrough of the wheel. From the cart of ancient Mesopotamia to cars, airplanes that we use today, the wheel is literally and metaphorically the turning point in our technology development. It's not just a tool, it's an idea. The idea that has echoed through millennia. Could you imagine where we'd be today if it was not for the invention of wheels? Now, the last innovation was about moving goods and people. This next innovation is about moving something that people consider to be equally or even more important: ideas. Around 3200 BC, the Sumerians in Mesopotamia and the Egyptians developed the first writing systems. And that is when everything changed. Writing transformed human societies. It allowed us to transcript the limits of our oral communication to the record history, laws, knowledge across generations. Without writing, civilization would have crumbled under the weight of forgetfulness. Think about this. Every document, every book, every piece of information you have ever read is rooted breakthrough. Writing's become the foundation of governance, education, and culture. It's not just a survival tool. It's the mechanism by which we make sense of the world and pass on knowledge, writing, and allow civilization to endure. Now, writing systems is what helps people truly be able to think things through, and it's what allows for what we have in free speech and freedom. The next innovation is so fundamental to modern life, you may not even notice it. You may even be standing on it right now. This next innovation is concrete. But in ancient Rome, concrete was revolutionary. Around 200 BC, the Romans discovered a formula that allowed them to build structures that could stand the test of time. This wasn't just used for buildings, they used it for everything: bridges, aqueducts, even roads. Concrete gave the Romans the ability to expand their empire and create a lasting urban environment. What is astonishing is how enduring innovation this has been. Concrete is still the backbone of today's modern architecture. Look around you. Any city, major structure, there is concrete. The Romans were thinking long term when they created something that still shapes how we build today. These are the testaments of the integrity of the ancient minds and their ability to create solutions that stand the test of time, literally and figuratively. In fact, the Romans had such a good formula that their cement is actually self-healing, unlike what we have today. Put yourself back in time into ancient civilization and consider this. What happens when the knowledge you've accumulated over a lifetime can't be passed on, when your wisdoms and insight vanishes as soon as you are gone? For ancient civilization, this was the existential problem. But then there was papyrus, not to be confused with the papaya. In 3000 BCE in Egypt, they began to use this plant to create scrolls, revolutionizing the way that humans recorded information. Papyrus allowed for the birth of bureaucracy, religion, and culture, all to be captured in ink and preserved across generations. But papyrus was not the end of the story. In China around 100 BCE, the development of paper changed everything once again. It was lighter, cheaper, and more versatile. It gave us the ability to mass produce written records, to store and distribute knowledge in ways previously thought unimaginable, but now was more than possible. From that moment on, books, documents, and communications were all documentarized, setting the stage for the intellectual revolution. The written word didn't just survive, it flourished, and it was its ability to preserve knowledge that sustains civilizations, and that is something deeply profound. Now, this next innovation is probably the most controversial innovation on this list, and it's gunpowder. It was actually created not as a weapon, but it was created in the 9th century by the Chinese alchemists in search for an elixir of immortality. But instead, they discovered a substance that would change the new course of human conflict forever. Gunpowder didn't just change how wars were fought, it altered and balance of power, making it possible for a smaller force to overcome a leveling tool for the most brutal of times. And now we move on to the compass. Now, this might not seem as glamorous invention as gunpowder or as monumental as the wheel, but consider what it represents. A new way of orienting yourself in the world. It was invented in China around the 2nd century in BCE. The compass allowed humans to navigate beyond its boundaries of familiarity. It wasn't just about knowing where you were. It was about exploring the unknown and doing so with confidence. The compass did more than just guide sailors across uncharted waters. It guided entire civilizations towards new trade and discovery. It enabled the age of exploration, where new worlds were discovered, and with them, new ideas, opportunities, and unfortunately, new conflicts. But the compass is more than just a tool for navigation. It's a symbol of the element of quest of direction. Whether it's physical, intellectual, or moral, we're always searching for new ways to find our place in this vast, unpredictable world. Now, this next invention might actually surprise you, the fact that it's from ancient times. This invention was actually created in the 1st century of CE by a man named Haran. He was a brilliant mind of his time. This invention was the steam engine, but back then it was known as the aeropile. It was a simple device using steam to create rotation motion. But don't let the simplicity fool you. This was an early step towards something much larger, something that the world eventually used to change the face of civilization. The steam engine represents a harnessing of nature's power on a grand scale, transforming into mechanical force, although the ancient world couldn't fully realize its potential, and seeds were planted. It's fascinating to think of this early experiment in Alexandria. Now, some people would say agriculture is where human civilization truly begins. And at the heart of it, it's all the plow. Developed around 3000 BCE in Mesopotamia, the earliest wooden plows allowed humans to cultivate lands far more efficiently than ever before. This was the beginning of large-scale agriculture, supporting populations and giving rise to cities. But the real breakthrough came when the iron plowshare emerged around 1000 BCE, taking agriculture productivity to a new height. The plows symbolize human mastery over the environment, the ability to produce food on a scale that allows for not just survival, but prosperity. Today, the machines that cultivate our fields, that feed billions, can be traced back to the origins of this ingenious tool. It's a reminder that even the basic innovations can have the most profound impact. Without agriculture, there would be no civilization. And without the plow, there would be no agriculture. And I don't know about you all, but I love to eat. So I'm a big fan. Now, it's easy to overlook sanitation systems, but let's not underestimate their importance. Imagine the chaos of human life without clean water or waste removal. Disease, filth, and disorder would quickly overwhelm any city. Around 2600 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization began to develop early water sewage systems, creating a cleaner, healthier urban environment. The Romans took the idea and went even further on the idea, building vast aqueducts and drainage systems that supplied clean water and carried away waste. The legacy of the Roman aqueducts endures in modern water supply systems. Every time we turn on a tap, we are participating in ancient technology. The importance of sanitation is profound. Without it, cities couldn't grow, populations couldn't thrive, and public health would be in consistent peril. Even today, sanitation systems in modern cities trace their roots back to these ancient civilizations. They don't just improve the quality of life, they allow civilizations itself to flourish. Now, I'm going to make a very bold statement here, but I believe that it's true. I believe that plumbers, because of the sanitation system, are actually more important to healthcare system, or at least public health, than doctors are. Now, this brings us to another innovation, glassmaking. A craft that dates back to the ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt around 3500 BCE, was one of the most transformative discoveries in the ancient world. At first, it was used as decorative objects, but over time, it became a lot more practical and invaluable material for everyday use. The ability to manipulate sand and heat it into this clear, durable substance gave the rise to new possibilities in art, architecture, and eventually science. Now, what's truly remarkable about glass is how it's expanded human understanding, from the window that lets light into our house to the lenses that scientists use to gaze into the mystery of the universe. Glass has been a conduit for knowledge discovery, and without glass, we wouldn't have precise instruments that sparked the scientific revolution, nor the materials that define modern architecture. The legacy of glassmaking extends from beyond its ancient roots. It has become one of the most important materials in modern world. Thanks for joining me for the ride. There we have it, 10 of the most important inventions of the ancient world, a framework of which society was built on. These aren't just historical artifacts. They are reflections of the human spirit, the capacity to innovate, to solve problems, and to reach beyond the limits of what we thought was once possible. Now, the people of ancient civilization weren't just building their world. They were building the world that we live in today. So what does this mean for us now with the new technology revolution, with AI, quantum computing, and we must remember the future is built upon the past. The same drive to innovate, to improve, to explore will shape the next chapter of human civilization. Just as the steam engine gave the rise to the Industrial Revolution, what we create today will do the same in centuries to come. And that's the real lesson from ancient inventions. They didn't just transform their world, they also transformed ours. The question is, what will we do with these tools and the technology that lies ahead of us? Will we rise to the occasion like those before us did? Now, I have a question for you. What do you think the most important invention here is? Do you think that one stands out more than the other? Do you think there's any that weren't a big deal that we could live without, that wouldn't change the civilization that we live in today? What technology that we are working on now or have recently created do you think is going to alter the future and future civilization? Thanks for joining me. Stay curious, my friends, and I'll catch you in the next.